All right, guys, so let's talk about In the Tall Grass, which is based on a Stephen King book, released to Netflix after years of project being set forward, but then it just took forever to actually come to fruition, and then it went to Netflix. Netflix bought out the rights to bring it there, so we have a movie that had a couple years of development hell, and I was really interested by honestly because Dead Meat did like a podcast for it, and I watch all of their podcasts. Dead Meat podcast, I watch every one of them. If it's a movie I haven't seen, I immediately go watch it unless I can't find it. But I really love their podcast. It's one of my favorite on YouTube, and I saw that they did one on this, and I haven't watched it yet. But I just watched this movie, and I was so interested in this movie because again, it's a Stephen King movie. It was on Netflix. We had Gerald's Game, which was a really, really fantastic movie on Netflix. I love Gerald's Game. That was so great. And it was a Stephen King adaptation as well. This one, I knew nothing about. I went into this movie and just knew nothing. And besides the name, In the Tall Grass, and that Patrick Wilson was in it. So this is a weird one. I went into it going with no expectations. And coming out of this movie, this was a really interesting movie. It was bizarre. I don't know if it's like a good movie, quote unquote, but I think it. I really liked it. I thought that it was very interesting. This is weird because it follows a lot of Stephen King tropes. Like for example, it's about and I'll keep the plot pretty vague. It's about these people who go into the tall grass in this area and start going crazy. And I like the fact that you have the tropes that he has in other books slash movies. I haven't read any of these books, but the movies I've seen a lot of. Tropes from like Children of the Corn with the choir singing with the grass moving. It reminded me of that. It had a lot of psychological influence, like from his other books and movies. Like the way that you look at it, it feels very much like Stephen King with the tropes. But I like that this one did a better job than a lot of the other movies that did it, if that makes sense. Like I liked the execution of this movie better. I thought that this movie was fascinating, showing these people go insane in this field. And it honestly, there are moments in this movie that genuinely made me go, "Oh shit." Like I actually with Stephen King movies, usually they don't scare me in a sense down under where like I'm going to think about it afterwards. But I like that this movie after it was over, I didn't realize how much of an impression this movie actually made with this tall grass. I thought this was really scary, and I thought that this was really effective, and it stayed with me after I watched the movie because the way they executed these people going crazy inside of a big area, you don't know where to go. You don't know how to escape. Who knows if you can't escape? You keep hearing voices. You think somebody's right next to you, but then they're far away. I really love that. I thought that that really worked. I thought that the movie was very creepy in that regard. Like it is a creepy movie, and it actually made me just surprised genuinely that I was that invested and that scared watching it because most horror movies I'm not really scared of, but I thought that this movie did a really excellent job of making you feel like it felt very claustrophobic and scary, but also claustrophobic, but you're in like a big area. Like you don't know where you are, but you feel like you're just so small in this big area. Um, I really liked that. I thought that that was really cool. The acting is good. I liked all the actors in this. Patrick Wilson in this is really good. And I won't say anything about him, but he is really good in this movie, and I really liked where his character went. I thought that all the actors were good, but he's the only one that I know by name. But the little kid in this movie, there's a little kid in this movie, and he honestly almost steals the show. This little kid actor is so good, so genuinely, actually really good at his performance. I really, really thought he did a great job. And it worked on so many things for me. Like I really was genuinely surprised with just how many things made me go, wow, oh shit, like this is intense, this is scary, this is effective. And I know that critics, I looked up the critic reviews for this. like critics were kind of like whatever on like the tone, and I could definitely see that. But it's weird. It's a Stephen King tone because Stephen King does it in a lot of the movies where like or people adapt his books into movies, and they sometimes have the goofy and scary moments. But this one, it's weird. It does have the tone problem, but like it's not as prevalent as something like like Maximum Overdrive or something, or on top of my head, I can't think of any other big ones, but there are a lot of Stephen King movies where they're really silly, but they're also really trying to be scary as well. Sleepwalkers as well, where you can't take it seriously. And this one, I felt like you could take it seriously, and the way that it was directed, the way that it was shot, it didn't ever feel like it was one of those Stephen King movies where the tone was really goofy, but also really silly. But I mean, I saw critics saying that, and I fully didn't understand that completely. There were a couple moments, but it wasn't as jarring as like some of his other movie adaptations. So overall, this one I really dug and really thought it was fun. I really am glad I saw it. I feel like people should go and see this one and debate down below with me what you guys think of it, because I really liked it. I didn't find a lot of things that I disliked about it. I thought it was pretty entertaining and pretty creepy and pretty bizarre, but in a good way. So I enjoyed it a lot.